Thank God the Vikings beat the Browns yesterday, or you would have swept me 6-0 in our disagreements. Crazy day in London for the Vikings. Carson Wentz gets injured late in the first half. It just had that vibe that he's done. Right. Take him to the locker room, x-ray room. Anytime you hear that, had his pads off, came back, he had his pads on. Max Brosmer took one snap at the end of the half just to kneel down. But I'm thinking it's going to be Brosmer time in the second half. Wentz comes out, and the Vikings, it's like they kept hanging around.
That's right.
Hanging around, and that's the problem. You let a team hang around. The Browns had opportunities to knock them out. The Browns could never really get separation.
Right.
And then Carson Wentz puts together a great drive at the end, trusts Jordan Addison, who'd been benched for the first quarter because he missed a walkthrough and had words with Kevin O'Connell.
Damn.
You're going to have words with Kevin O'Connell, you're going to have a problem. And good for O'Connell for doing something about it. You can't let players push you around. When you're a nice guy coach, you can't let players push you around. But Addison responded with the game-winning touchdown. Vikings get the win 21-17. In a game that also included a field goal apparently hitting a camera cable that would have tied the game at 17 with just under 10 minutes left.
Right.
And nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. Yeah. It was a 51-yarder, and it hit, and it goes wide white.
Wide white?
Wide.
You wascally wabbit, you?
And wabbit season. And the league's position is they didn't have a clear view of it hitting. I mean, we've seen it. The wire moves like this, and the ball moves unnaturally.
Exactly right. I think you explained it right. I mean, this was, we know the Cleveland defense is phenomenal. They made plays and kind of kept this Vikings offense in check for a lot of the football game, to where, it wasn't pretty on either side of the ball, but it gave Dylan Gabriel and the Browns offense a chance to kind of get their feet going, and he had a good early touchdown drive. And then I think the big thing is when they were up, 17-14, they got the ball a number of times after that in good field position where you were like, ooh, if they can go score here or get a field goal, they're going to make things really uncomfortable for Minnesota. Minnesota's going to have to throw, and if you have to throw every play against this Browns defense, you're in trouble. But the Flores defense came up big a bunch of times for the Vikings. They kept the Browns away from scoring again, and that lack of offense and being able to put the Vikings away let Carson Wentz and O'Connell, as the game goes, they figure out what you want to do, how you're playing them, and they started to make some plays there late in the fourth quarter in the past game.
I talked to Wentz after the game by phone, and he's just amazed by the way O'Connell comes up with the plays. And they had a plan for not letting Myles Garrett destroy the game. They were missing 3 of their starting offensive linemen. They had Blake Brandel, who has never played center before in the NFL, replacing their 2 centers. Michael Juergens, the backup to Ryan Kelly, has a hamstring injury. Kelly is on IR because he's had 2 concussions this year, I believe 5 in all in the NFL. It was a patchwork offensive line, and they held it together just long enough, and they got it done. And they get to come back from London 1-1 for their European swing. That would have been a long plane ride, 0-2. And Wentz knows the injury that got him, or the hit that got him injured. He trying to do too much.
Yeah, that's right. Got a helmet right to his shoulder.
There was no way he was going to get the first down. But he told me, I let the heat of the moment take over, and I know I need to be smarter. I said, what did O'Connell say about that? He said, we haven't had that conversation yet.
But it's coming.
A long plane ride home.
Definitely.
That conversation's coming because he's trying to coach those things out of him.
Right.
There was a moment when they were down near their own goal line, and Wentz didn't have anything, and he scrambled for a few yards to say, hey, better than throwing it left-handed, which we've seen before.
He's got to be careful.
Spot.
To your point, he's got to be careful. When we don't know how long it's going to be with J.J. McCarthy, also within J.J. McCarthy, it wasn't like he was lighting up the scoreboard and he was playing anyways. So they need Carson Wentz here to stay alive, keep this offense afloat, and see what they do when J.J. McCarthy comes back. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation because I think Carson Wentz will continue to play well under Kevin O'Connell and what he does. Because like what you said, anybody that goes and plays for Kevin O'Connell comes away almost the same way you hear somebody go play for Shanahan or Ben Johnson or that. They come away going, whoa, he taught me things that I thought I knew already, but he taught me nuance about it, and it opened up my brain and exploded that way. Like little tricks about how to attack a coverage or how to run the route. And I mean, we've heard Carson Wentz talk about it. We've heard Kirk Cousins talk about it. I've heard Sam Darnold talk about it. I've heard Daniel Jones talk about it. They've all talked about the genius of Kevin O'Connell and his ability to to get people open. And even though they're not functioning at their highest level right now, they still get it done when they need to for the most part.
They go back and find things Wentz has done in the past, and it's plays he's been running for 9 years, but they're still different.
Yeah.
They're different, and they're better when O'Connell has the concepts and explains what they're trying to do, etc.
What's up, Vikings fans? Victor here from Report Vikings, and today we've got a little bit of roster shakeup news out of Egan. The Vikings have officially released tight end Nick Vannett and waived guard Vershawn Lee. Let's break down what this means, and why it's not as simple as just 2 names off the list. So, starting with Nick Vannett, the veteran tight end, 32 years old, and a guy who's pretty much been all over the NFL map. He was a 3rd-round pick back in 2016 out of Ohio State by the Seattle Seahawks, and since then he's worn more jerseys than most guys collect in a career. Steelers, Broncos, Saints, Giants, Texans, Chargers, Titans, and now, for a brief time, our Minnesota Vikings. Vannett's career has been the definition of a journeyman tight end. He's not the flashy, game-changing type like Travis Kelce or George Kittle, but he's been that reliable depth piece, a solid blocker, dependable hands in short yardage situations, and a guy coaches love because he does the dirty work. Last season with the Tennessee Titans, he actually played all 17 games. 17 catches, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Nothing crazy, but respectable production for a TE3 type role. That shows he can still contribute, but it also probably says a lot about where the Vikings tight end room stands right now. With TJ Hawkinson getting closer to returning from injury and Johnny Munt proving again that he's one of the most underrated blocking tight ends in the league, it makes sense the Vikings are trimming the depth chart. Plus, they've been really happy with Josh Oliver, who's been a monster in both blocking and short passing situations. When you have that trio, there's just not much room for a veteran like Vannett. Now, the other move, Vershawn Lee, the undrafted rookie guard, was waived. This one's more about flexibility and roster management. Lee had some promising flashes during camp, but with the O-line finally getting healthy, the Vikings are probably trying to open up a practice squad spot or make room for reinforcements elsewhere. Maybe another defensive lineman or a special teams piece. What's interesting about these moves is that they come right as the team's about to hit a crucial stretch of the season. You don't make minor cuts like this without thinking a few steps ahead. Maybe Queasy and Kevin O'Connell are clearing space for a potential signing, or even, dare I say it, a trade deadline pickup. And look, as much as I like the idea of having a veteran like Vannett in the room, this tight end group is already deep and talented. If this means Hawkinson's return is close, I'm all for it. So Vikings fans, what do you think? Are these just routine roster moves, or do you think something bigger is cooking behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts down below, hit that like button if you're ready for Hawkinson to get back on the field, and subscribe to Report Vikings for all the latest roster updates, trade rumors, and deep dive analysis. Always from a fan's perspective. I'm Victor, and as always, Skol Vikings Nation.